Now on CoastTV News.
School scares. 2 gun incidents in 2 weeks, and concern is only growing in Milford. Path protection.
People are afraid to be out there.
A push to separate bikers from traffic on part of Route 1 and why some say it's needed. Digital day, the sneaky ways that scammers are targeting you and how you can fight back.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Looking at Milford schools, now the scene of 2 gun-related incidents in just 2 weeks. Good evening. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. We begin tonight with growing safety concerns in Milford. Last week, we told you a man dropped a gun in the pickup line at Milford High School. And just last night, we told you a 13-year-old student is now accused of bringing an unloaded gun to Milford Central Academy. Police say both situations were handled swiftly and that no students were in harm's way, but still, many parents today said those reassurances are not enough.
How did he have access to that gun? Why wasn't it secured? Basically, he should have never been able to put that in his backpack and carry it to school whatsoever.
And we're told that the 13-year-old suspect now has a pending court date. We'll move to Bethany Beach now, where we are one step closer to pedestrian safety improvements along Coastal Highway. Tonight, DelDOT held its final public workshop discussing the North Bethany Bicycle and Pedestrian Corridor Study. The study is looking at improvements like new sidewalks, dedicated right turn lanes, and more risk-free pedestrian crosswalks, also possibly installing barriers separating the bike lanes and the roadway.
People are afraid to be out there because of the high-speed cars and an ability to slow the cars down, and the future prospects of putting in a physical barrier would make people much more comfortable to walk and ride bikes up and down Route 1.
Now, one of the major improvements already done as part of this project was lowering the speed limit around the Indian River Inlet Bridge. Well, a disheartening decision was made for teachers in Worcester County today. This morning, county commissioners approved their budget, and a contentious 4-3 vote, it left the school system $1 million short of its request for a new salary package. Teachers say it jeopardizes much needed $4,000 raises, but the majority of commissioners stand by a decision that they say is fiscally responsible and in the best interest of taxpayers.
To not fund this on the backs of our employees and to take the money and put it elsewhere is unfathomable for me, because it should be there.
We're funding the education budget to quite an extent. They're getting, like I said here at the meeting, they're getting a 7% increase on the Board of Education budget.
And the Teachers Association says it will now renegotiate with the Board of Education. The Indian River School District's second referendum, it's just days away. This comes after the first referendum in March was defeated by more than 600 votes. The new referendum is asking voters to approve $22.5 million in additional funding for rising operating costs and maintaining competitive salaries for staff. Be ready to vote on Thursday, June 5th. Polls are going to be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Now we're looking live outside into Lewis, and it's time to turn things over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening to you, Christina, and we're having a pretty good evening as well. But you know what? It's really been about dealing with that leftover smoke or residual smoke from some of the fires that are happening in Canada right now. We're starting to see some of this rotate around us now. We were thinking that we're going to see some of the smoke move out of the way, but now with this latest run, watch this, because see the orange, so you can see the scale, yellow is right there in the middle. We start getting the oranges and deeper oranges and then red. That means the smoke is getting thicker and it's a little more dangerous. Now watch this as we begin to kind of go through the rotation here. You'll notice as we go into Wednesday, it begins to clear out of the way, but watch what happens going into Thursday. It rotates right back, coming in out of the south by the time we get to Thursday lunchtime. So this is why we have to be mindful of just what kind of smoke incident that we're dealing with. And we're going from good to moderate over towards portions of Cambridge. Coming up, we'll talk more about the heat that's on the way, more UV indexes on the way, and possibly a little more of that smoke. I'm talking about actual smoke, not figuratively.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Well, a months-long report into the fire service was presented to the Sussex County Council today. The report looked at how departments spend their money and how financial conditions varied widely. CoastTV reporter Emma Aiken explains what this means for fire companies and what could happen next.
Fire and EMS in Sussex County only getting busier.
I do know that they are very active, and especially during the season, it's extremely active.
In a financial review presented to Sussex County Council today, consultants recommended the county and fire departments create a strategic plan for the future of the fire service and put, quote, more rigorous purchasing policies in place. Lewis local Juliet Burkaw is open to that idea.
Somebody has to have oversight, so I don't know if it would be each city, but if the county is sort of controlling it, then I think we'd have a wider net to cast than we would just with the city.
The report also recommends coordinated EMS billing for all departments to lighten their load, but another suggestion, a fire service fee, would put a burden on taxpayers. Cynthia Opterbeck says she understands to an extent.
I'd be in favor of it. I think it'd be important, although I would like to see that it wasn't excessive.
And she says that's all the more reason that the recommended county oversight could be needed.
If we're being taxed for it, we need to know that our representatives are managing, or looking at their management, making sure that it's fiscally sound and appropriate,
A call for more oversight and maybe more cash.
And that was Emma Aiken reporting. It is important to note here, if the county chooses to impose a fire service fee as allowed by state law, it's not clear how much that would be. And this does come just 2 months after the Lewis Fire Department issued a formal warning to Sussex County Council, saying that without a significant increase in funding, they would be forced to begin dissolving its emergency medical services. That was brought up today to the consultants. They said overall, Sussex Fire Services were doing okay, better than Newcastle County, actually. And there is a lot to dig into here. We have the full report hyperlinked on our website, CoastTV.com. And all this brings us to our Coast TV poll tonight. We want to know, do you feel confident in your area's fire department? Let's take a look at the updated results. You can see 63% say they feel very confident, 14% somewhat, 21% say not confident, 2% unsure about their answer. We also have a comment tonight. It's from Ron Scott in Angola, and he says that he does have a Lewis mailing address, but the area is Angola and that it takes more than 22 minutes to get an ambulance. He said any more lack of volunteers would be dangerous. You can leave your own comment. You can also still vote. It's not too late. Go to CoastTV.com or use our mobile app. In Selbyville, leaders are looking to formalize a ban on short-term rentals. Officials say it would target rentals of less than 1 year within town limits. The current code does not explicitly prohibit short-term rentals. Neighbors we spoke with shared mixed opinions on the proposal.
I think it'll benefit business to have people come and stay at the rentals because they're not locals. Locals from around that way, we're not paying the high ticket prices other, areas.
If you have people that are buying, they're going to be more secure and more permanent, and they pay taxes.
Now, Selbyville town leaders, they're looking to hold a public hearing over this proposal on July 7th. Well, trash may soon take a greater financial toll for some people in Wicomico County. The county solid waste division wants to increase rates for commercial haulers to manage the landfill. They proposed raising the tipping fee from $78 per ton to $84 per ton on July 1st. It would be followed by another $4 increase in the new year. One local hauler we spoke with says the increases are coming too fast.
They're trying to catch things back up and have workable equipment, and we agree with all of that generally. The problem is they're trying to catch us all up within a year or two, and it's too short of a time frame. This is the second year in a row that they've proposed increases to start with only a few weeks' notice given to trash haulers.
Now, Andrew said the proposal would be a big disruption for disposal companies like his because most of his clients have already paid for July and many for the remainder of the year. Well, there's another scam to be aware of in Delaware, this time from the DMV. Take a look at this. This is what the message looks like. It claims you have unpaid traffic tickets and offers a link to fix it, but the DMV says it's a trick to steal your information. Speaking of those scams, according to a new survey, they're targeting more people, more than you might think. An overwhelming majority are targeted by scammers every week. Ivan Rodriguez reports on the common tactics that these scammers use and how you can protect yourself.
If you're checking your email every day, chances are you'll see a subject line that might make you raise a brow.
Right away, I'm thinking to myself, is this something that I've been expecting?
According to a CNET survey, 96% of U.S. adults receive at least one scam email, text, or phone call each week. 90% say they get scam emails on a weekly basis. CNET station Milden says the scam calls and texts are surging too.
My phone rings constantly, and that's at 83%, still very high, followed by text messages, of course, at 82%.
In 2024 alone, U.S. adults reported losing a collective whopping $470 million in those sneaky text scams, according to the Federal Trade Commission. Milden says fraudsters have gotten so good at crafting their messages and creating a sense of urgency that people need to stay vigilant, especially on phone calls.
If you don't know who that person is after you have said hello, don't say anything further, hang up. And the reason why I say that is so important is because artificial intelligence has evolved to where scammers are actually able to clone your voice and your responses to unfortunately use those for scams later.
Aside from following basic internet safety guidelines, such as not clicking unknown links and not answering unknown calls, Milden says there are other ways to keep criminals from impacting your finances.
Right now is a really good time to freeze your credit. So that way, if they happen to get access to your information, hey, your credit's already frozen.
And we are just getting started this evening. Coming up ahead, FEMA is under fire over hurricane season readiness, how the White House is responding. And also controversy in California as the federal government demands a ban on transgender athletes.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. 86 for Wednesday and sunshine. 86 on Thursday, not so much sunshine. And we're still going to stay in the 80s in Cambridge, but in the 70s in Crisfield. We'll have your full forecast coming up in 60 seconds. So what we're doing, take a look at what's happening right now. I want to switch gears here a little bit. That's where I want to go. So air quality has been an issue for us because of what's been happening with a lot of the smoke that's been coming off of the fires that have been happening throughout portions of southern Canada. Well, now we're starting to get some filtration coming in from our north, and it's starting to affect our air quality index. Now, we've dropped from green to yellow, which is only good to moderate. Moderate is nothing to panic about, but it's something to take note of because this is just kind of the beginning, and we're at the beginning of the summer season, so technically not even summer, you know what I'm saying? So we really have a lot to deal with here because when you think about this, air quality alerts are already being issued throughout Lancaster, Philadelphia area, and that's just to our north. But it's in our general region. Now, for us, we have none of these that are active at this point. Even with that being the case, with temperatures soaring into the 80s, which is above the upper 70s, which is where we're supposed to be for this time of the year, and just prior to the hurricane season hitting, we have high pressure that's sitting off of the coast. The clockwise rotation is going to begin to push in some additional moisture coming in out of the south. And so we're going to start seeing some congestion or some breathing problems from folks. Now, here's the latest future smoke. This is a small scale model that begins to indicate where we are as far as the smoke is concerned. Now, when you get over into the greens and all that, this is actually clear air. Yellow and then orange or deeper orange and reds are where you have problems with breathing. Wednesday, it's going to clear out. It's going to become a lot better. Notice on this last run, just before we signed on, I ran the model again. Watch this. You see this rotation? Right back in play for us on Thursday. So don't be surprised that we have concerns about air quality for Thursday, going into Thursday night, going into Friday, because this is coming back around again. Now, back to our regular forecast in the sense of looking for 86 for the high in Georgetown. We anticipate a high of 82 in Cambridge, and we should warm to 77 degrees in Ocean City. So for the next few days, the temperature trend is going to stay on the upside above the 79, but now the lows are going to be above that 60. So we're going to start trending a little bit warmer than usual. For Wednesday morning, we're going to be clear. For Wednesday afternoon, into the mid-80s with the winds floating out of the south, relatively light. More moisture builds in for Thursday early in the morning, and then we click back over to the mid-80s again for Thursday afternoon with additional cloud cover. Now, as far as the most southern portion of our viewing area, including Ocean City down to Snow Hill, we're expecting for temperatures to ride into the 80s by lunchtime, but then cloud cover really thicken up Thursday going into Friday. One last thing I want to kind of peep you on, so to speak. You see this? 9, 8, 9, 9. 4 out of the next 5 days, we're going to be at very high levels with the UV index. So you're going to need sunscreen, stay out of the shade, avoid being outside from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., particularly if you don't have a lot of melanin in your skin. Tonight, clear skies, 86 for tomorrow, 86 for Thursday, and here's a look at your extended forecast.
All right, thank you, Paul. Well, we are only a few days into hurricane season, and FEMA's new acting chief already in hot water. The White House is working to reassure Americans that the Federal Emergency Management Agency is taking hurricane season seriously. As Sherelle Hubbard reports, this comes after FEMA's leader reportedly told staff he was previously unaware that the U.S. has a hurricane season.
The White House doing damage control Tuesday.
I know FEMA is taking this seriously, contrary to some of the reporting we have seen.
Multiple sources say the new acting head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, reportedly said he didn't know the U.S. had a hurricane season in a Monday briefing with staffers. Some interpreted the remark as a joke, but it comes amid concerns that neither FEMA nor the National Weather Service are nearly as prepared for hurricane season as they should be.
It's kind of like fielding a football team with only 9 players. You can be as good as possible, but you're not going to be able to keep up with the threats.
The National Weather Service is seeking to backfill 125 positions for specialists and meteorologists after more than 500 employees were laid off or took early retirement. About 10% of FEMA's total workforce has left since January. Critics say that could affect federal response to the predicted rougher-than-normal hurricane season. Despite that, President Trump vowed to eliminate FEMA, and his administration is in the process of shifting more responsibility for disaster response and recovery on individual states.
This president has made it clear we're not going to enable states to make bad decisions with federal tax dollars and then have the federal government later have to bail these states out.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is predicting a 60% chance of the U.S. having an above-normal hurricane season. I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Now, acting FEMA Chief David Richardson, he was appointed by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in May. He is a former Marine combat veteran and a martial arts instructor. He has no prior experience managing natural disasters. Coming up next, new destinations where Alaska Airlines will be flying to starting next year. And up next, new tariffs set to take effect tomorrow. What President Trump says his end goal is by taxing steel and aluminum. President Trump signed an executive order today doubling the current tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from 25% to 50%. The new tariffs take effect Wednesday. In the order, Trump says the increased tariffs will more effectively counter foreign countries that allow to offload low-priced excess steel and aluminum in the U.S. market. He also said raising the tariffs would ensure the end of steel imports. But critics of the tariffs say they could raise prices for products from cars to appliances, as well as construction materials and electrical equipment. And speaking of tariffs, it looks like Dollar General could possibly be benefiting from them. The company said Tuesday that for its stores open for at least a year, sales increased 2.4% last quarter. That beat analysts' expectations. Dollar General also raising its profit forecast for the year. Discount stores, they tend to gain customers during periods of economic strain. The chain, though, it still could face some tariff pressure as it does import most of its products. Well, Alaska Airlines will soon be flying to Europe. The air carrier announced today it will offer nonstop service from Seattle to Rome 4 times per week starting next year. The airline already offers flights to Tokyo and is scheduled to begin service to South Korea in September. Overseas flights were made possible when the airline acquired Hawaiian Airlines and its fleet of long-haul jets last year. Coming up in sports tonight, the Eastern Shore Baseball Senior Showcase is this week. Hear from 2 of the event's organizers when we come back. And coming up in tonight's Health Minute, why prostate cancer screening matters and who needs it most.
This is Coast TV News at 11.
New research shows that a particular kind of diet could help reduce the risk of getting dementia. The MIND diet, it involves eating green leafy vegetables, olive oil, whole grains, and lots of berries. Middle-aged and older study participants were less likely to develop Alzheimer's and other kinds of dementia. The MIND diet combines the Mediterranean diet with the blood pressure lowering DASH diet. The long-term study showed the MIND diet resulted in a stronger and more consistent reduction in dementia risk than other types of diets. Well, about 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, according to the American Cancer Society. The disease is also a leading cause of cancer death among men, but early detection, it can save lives. And in tonight's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on who should be screened for prostate cancer and when to start that screening.
If found early, prostate cancer is highly treatable before it spreads. But the American Cancer Society estimates there will be more than 35,700 deaths from the disease in the U.S. this year alone. Screening can save lives, but knowing who should screen and when can be confusing.
PSA screening is so complicated because different organizations have come out with their own thoughts on what that screening interval should be and shouldn't be.
Dr. Mitchell Humphreys with Mayo Clinic says most organizations agree that men at average risk should get their screening between the ages of 55 and 69. It's a blood test known as prostate-specific antigen, or PSA, but he says the decision to start screening should be made between the patient and their doctor based on risk. Those more likely to develop prostate cancer include anyone with a family history of the disease, or those who may have inherited the BRCA genes typically linked to breast cancer. Black men are also at higher risk. Humphrey says anyone with these risk factors should start screening earlier than those at average risk. How often a patient should be screened also varies, so he recommends what he calls smart screening, meaning those who have a history of higher PSA levels should be monitored and screened more often than someone whose levels are low.
You can tailor it to the individual health and the risk of the patient, determine how often you should be having that blood test checked for your health and longevity.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Well, the Trump administration is now demanding California public schools to ban transgender athletes from girls' sports. The Department of Justice says allowing them to compete is unconstitutional. It cites the 14th Amendment, which prohibits discrimination based on sex. Right now, California's Interscholastic Federation allows students to compete based on their gender identities. And last weekend, a transgender high school junior won the state title in girls' track and field events. The Justice Department has given school districts until Monday to notify it in writing that they plan to comply with the ban.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
We're just 2 days away from the summer showcase for some of the best high school senior baseball players on the shore. And earlier today, Kayla Santiago had some special guests in studio to break down the event.
What's going on, everybody? Kayla Santiago here in the Wawa Studios. We've got the Eastern Shore Showcase happening on DSM Plus this Thursday at 7 p.m. And we have some fantastic people here. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves for everybody to know at home.
I'm Tom Hall, president of Eastern Shore Umpires Association.
And I'm Danny Campbell. I'm the observer in the training department of the Eastern Shore Umpires Association.
And it's been about 8 years that we've been able to see this event happen. Just what are you guys looking forward to, and why is it so important to bring it back?
Well, we're very excited about this. The contest last was held in 2017. We've been working on this for a couple years, trying to get this back up. And I'm excited about the seniors. Yeah. They've graduated. This would be their last hurrah as far as high school baseball would go.
They may go on to, say, American Legion, college ball, and we're just tickled to death to see that. We've been umpiring. We've seen these kids since they were in junior high school, as they used to call it, or middle school. And to see them get to this point, you really do develop a relationship as umpires with some of these guys.
The full exchange previewing the event can be found on our website, DelmarvaSportsNetwork.com. That over sports tonight.
Coming up next, the cutest competition on ice and how you can help these pups find homes. All professional hockey fans already know the Stanley Cup final begins this week as the Florida Panthers take on the Edmonton Oilers. But animal lovers may want to know that they should gear up for the Stanley Pup. The event will air before Game 2 is played on Friday. Current and former NHL players will introduce 32 adorable rescue dogs. They're each representing an NHL team, and the pups will compete to show off their canine skills on ice. There's even going to be play-by-play commentary, and all of the dogs will be available for adoption in their respective cities.
Yeah, looks like a very rough way to go. Okay, anyway, take a look at Milford. Bay Health camera at 64 degrees. We're going to stay in the lower 60s under mostly clear skies. We're looking pretty clear for right now, but we do have concerns for air quality to our north. Steve Tulea, of Ocean View, congratulations, you're our umbrella winner. By the way, keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line. The number to call is 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by the law offices of Brugstead, Mendelis, and Federico. Finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Back-to-back days of 86 degrees, but sunny on Wednesday and a little cloudy on Thursday. And Thursday, we're going to watch out for that smoke possibly coming back in the area. We'll continue to monitor with our mesoscale modeling.
All right, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For some more local news and local weather, you can download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon's up next. We'll see you back tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.